Hey guys, so the three things I think Boris should do to help out property investors. So first of all, I think the easy one is that, he needs to even the playing field back out, which is that, if you're running a business, which is a property business, they've turned it into a professional business. They've added all these regulations and all these licenses and all this sort of thing, all these additional costs, but they haven't allowed us to deduct the biggest expense, which is mortgage. So I think that really has to be reversed. Comparing an individual or a property investor to an individual, and ignoring the fact that they are running a business. On the one hand, they're saying you're running a business, you've got to be a professional, you've got to do all these things, checks, human habitations and all these legislative things they've put in place. And on the other hand, they're saying, oh, and by the way, you can't deduct your expenses. It's just appalling, absolutely appalling, and everyone knows that, and everyone knows that it's ridiculous. The other thing is they have to change the penalties attached to some of these things. They are so unreasonable and unfair. £30,000 for an individual for if you're not having a license. It's absolutely appalling. It is just punitive. And really, the whole government right now, and this is not just, it's been the Labor government, the Liberal government since they got in, or the coalition government, what they call it, brain's gone in the UK. God, they're not a coalition and they're not Liberal at the moment, but anyway, those idiots that are in power right now in the UK, we're Conservatives. All right, I got it. Yeah. If you look at what's been coming out, some of the penalties that are coming out are totally, ridiculously out of proportion. And I think, a lot of people haven't been really talking about this because we've been talking about the regulation, but we haven't been talking about the penalties. It's really appalling the way they've gone about this. It's so not joined up. In this day and age, if a government was a business, it would be bankrupt. Why? Because number one, somebody would have come in and joined up all the laws and had one place for law where you can actually work it all out, made it simple, got rid of all these really ridiculous things, and rather than having 15 pieces of legislation that covers one aspect of property, put it into one piece of legislation that applies to this. But the problem is the law has not evolved, and that's why it's being disrupted, and that's why you're seeing lawyers getting paid less, barristers getting paid less. At the end of the day, they are not innovating, and they are going to be killed very soon with technology and AI, because AI can do law a lot better than most lawyers can. And I know that's an affront to most lawyers and barristers and that whole legal system, but the way the whole thing has evolved, it is not fair anymore. And we deal with tenants all the time who don't pay, who don't fulfill their requirements, and really they get away with murder, on a continuous basis, and the courts let them, and the law lets them. And in fact, the law works against people like ourselves and our landlords who do the right thing. It's almost, you don't want to tell these guys the right things because they then go and abuse it. But anyway, look, the law's the way it is. I think the penalties are ridiculous. They're totally out of proportion for what it is. And then the other side is the law is ridiculous. But I think the other side, and the third thing really, is to look at some of the regulations and start joining them up. And I sort of mentioned that, there is just, it's so hard. I'm doing my level 4, which is the top level qualification for the industry, and I'm halfway through. I've got 2 exams left, and basically what I've realized is most of the regulation and most of the things that are involved, there's it's not just one piece of legislation you have to look to. So if you want to know about licensing, you got to know 15 bits of legislation, but rather than having one outline that says this is the stuff that covers your property, bang, and rather than having it online so you can go and do a Google type search engine, that has the accurate figures. The problem is, if you want to find something out, you got to go onto a forum, and basic forums and various websites and things like that, and you end up with 1,000 different opinions on what may happen. And then you go to court, and then you realize that the judge takes this one way, and another judge takes another. Another is, having well, I won't say a bad day. Another interprets the law as meaning we should give the tenants, whatever they want in terms of, allowances and, oh yes, okay, you didn't bring the right evidence and you haven't got anyone representing them. Go away, come back later. Meanwhile, the company's paying, for a barrister 2 days. It's appalling the way it is. So, they're the three things. So, really the mortgage deductibility, and really, I've got no problem with professionalising the business. In fact, I encourage it, but professionalise it onto an equal playing field. Don't make it this ridiculous unequal playing field that we have now. All right, guys. So will they happen? Yeah, I don't hold my breath. I think the bigger picture is that they're pushing for large pension funds to take over the UK property market and not for individual landlords. And really what you're going to be left to and what they're trying to push you into is investing through a fund, and that's how you're going to own property into the future. And the only way to get around that is by actually becoming a large professional landlord right now, because they're moving more and more towards that. And I think the more we can rebel against that and more we can fight up against that, the better. All right, guys, have a great day. Live with passion. Any comments, chuck them down there. Remember to subscribe to my channels, and look forward to chatting to you soon. And I love the discussions and debates and all that. So we'll see you soon. Bye.